You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to what is a bonus episode of the Weird Science Marvel Comics podcast. And it's a bonus because I get to talk to my man, Sully. What up, Sully?
Hello, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, here he is, Sully. You are now, I think you've taken over for Gray as being the most positive guy in comic book reviewdom.
Well,
because Gray, he's getting a little jaded. I think I've affected him. So that's why I wanted to have you on, so I can affect you as well. And get all that positivity out. But actually, I'm actually having you on because of your positivity and because you're a great guy.
Aww.
And if you are not aware, a lot of people who do end up on our Patreon and stuff like that are aware. I go on the Comics Aficionados over at Thinking Critical, and Sully is, I would say, the comics aficionado. You are the glue that keeps everything together. You are the positivity that keeps the machine rolling. I think I'm the negativity that people like to yell at, but that's fine. But in the meantime, this week, a bunch of books, a lot of books came out this week. The last couple of weeks from Marvel, a bunch of books.
And like last week, Marvel had 20.
That was crazy.
They dropped 25 books, not just on the local comic book shelves. You know what I mean? At your shop. Just think about the shop owner. You dropped 25 books on them in 1 week for you. That's going on their shelves. But
they have to figure out things, right?
And bloody well, 10 X books, I believe. I counted 10. I was like, I forgot to put in Laura Kinney Wolverine.
You did, because you end up sending me your reviews for each book when we go through them. Yeah, Laura Kinney. There's some weird side books too that don't seem fully in, but they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of X books. A lot of the X books ending soon as well because they're not great. They're not great. So.
Sentinels ended this week, and that one was Sentinels for me is my highlight in my experience from the Ashes so far. Yeah, that's been the high point for me.
It's weird. Did you see there's black and white? Either you love that book or you hate it. And I saw a bunch of tweets and things on X of the idea that people couldn't stand it. And I kept thinking to myself, everybody who I talked to said it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I haven't read it. I ended up, because we don't do the X books and we do so many other things, so I end up doing other stuff. But I thought that it was oh my God, everybody likes this. And I saw this one. This one guy just had a tweet of how it was the worst book he's ever read. And then people jumped in on it and yeah, it sucked and this and that. But that's what you get all around with the comic book deal. But we ended up this past week, we talked about Spider-Man, which had that weird Christos Gage death issue. We had the Ultimate Spider-Man, which I thought picked things up and had a crazy ending. Though I ended up, when I talked to Wes about that, I did continue my idea of how long did they have time to domesticate that velociraptor to ride it like a horse. I think that might have taken a little bit too long for me. But we did the Hell Hunters. But because of that, because we do a lot of Spider books,
some good shit.
We always get criticism when we end up with the indie podcast that we have. I get criticized. Me and my man Zach, who do it, get criticized that it's always Ghost Machine or Energon stuff because those are really good stuff.
That's the cream of the crop.
But
it really is.
We're starting to hear again that there's too many Spider books, too many Spider stuff on the Marvel thing. So I thought, you know what, Sully, you said that you would be willing to do some reviews, and I'm hoping definitely to have you on the show for the DC stuff now that we're having changes there. So I figured, you know what? Why wait? Let's talk some Marvel stuff, because you had mentioned that you liked the Captain America and Volstagg issue. I read it and I liked it too. Everybody else be damned. Because everybody's giving me crap. It stunk or whatever. Yeah, I think it's fun.
What a bunch of fuddy-duddies, man.
Yeah, I know. So we'll get into it. I'm going to give you the credits. They are fuddy-duddies. Captain America and Volstagg #1, written by J. Michael Straczynski, art by Bernard Chang, which is great.
Great art.
Yeah. Colors by Marcelo Maiolo, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. This is a book that seemingly is going to be a bunch of, and really spelling out, not just team-ups. This isn't just the 2-for-1. This is odd team-ups. It's said in the one thing, these are going to be team-ups that really should make no sense. They're going to oh my God, how did they get together? And it's just a one-shot deal. I thought it was good. And the best thing about it is it's more of a Volstagg issue than a Captain America issue.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a weird but neat play because what you do is pull the curtain off and show that Volstagg isn't a goofball like he kind of portrays, and it's that he's doing it because that's what's needed.
That's his role in the team. That's his dynamic.
And it doesn't feel like it's forced. I did try to explain this to some people who didn't read it, and they said, oh, that sounds like a forced way to explain this or that. And I'm like, no, it just is a fun issue that then expands a character.
Well, yeah.
Shows how great he is.
It's chock full of expository language, because this is meant for a reader who really does not know who Volstagg is. And I grew up, I'm a Bronze Age baby myself, a kid in the 70s. So I've grown up with Thor comics and with Balder and Sif and the Warriors 3. And I'm a big Norse mythology fan, so Volstagg is one of the characters that is not, that's a Marvel character.
Yeah, it's straight up new.
Yeah,
Marvel,
and but he's such a good character. And so while I'm reading this book, I'm like, I can hear like a Nathan Fillion to like Steve's voice bubbles, but I'm getting like Brian Blessed. He's a British actor, and you might know him as Prince Voltan in Flash Gordon. And he's got this deep basso voice, and I just like, that's Volstagg. And so I just had a lot of fun from the opening too. I mean, the panels, the art, it was great. The first like 4 pages, it's a lot of show don't tell, and it's a chase scene between Steve and the guy he's going after, and just the way the panels are arrayed. It just propels the story. It's very pleasant. And then you end up on the Rainbow Bridge. Sif, who is now, she's got Heimdall's job. So she calls Steve to be like, hey,
I like that he crashes his motorcycle. And like, that's the big thing. She's like, I'm really sorry about that.
And that's a great little story conceit, too, because that's a setup to a payoff. My favorite payoff, which is on the last pages. And it's just, Sif's like, I'll have this fixed in an hour. And so at the end of the book, he gets his bike back. But it's like, but it's like, oh, but I made some improvements. So it's.
Yeah. And that's pretty cool. And then now, if he wanted, like, it also where he can now go back and forth. Whether he did or not, it's fine, but it's fun. And like you said, what happens is he ends up where he gets separated. She says, I could have separated from your vehicle, but yeah, I had a concern, whatever. And then right away, Cap, because he's a smart guy, he was chasing down a terrorist who was pretty much going to just, suicide bomb this deal, this company, it looks like. And so he says, so you can separate people from the vehicle. Now, I thought, why would you want to take the guy out of the vehicle? The vehicle's, no, he's going to take the vehicle away so that the guy then crashes in the building. It was kind of the opposite deal where you even get a bit of humor from that, where the car gets taken away, put on the moon, say, which then actually plays out too because it blows up the lunar lander. And they're like, this thing has been on the moon since 1969 and it blew up out of nowhere.
Stopped.
Oh, it's pretty funny. But this guy also then just as he's going through time and space there, the car disappears and he hits the window of an office building where people are inside. He just like slides down and it's funny. And that leads then also, like you said, Sif says, I'm sorry about your motorcycle, but I'll have it repaired, which gives Steve a reason to say, hey, where's Thor? I want to see where everybody is, and runs into Volstagg.
Right. It's Volstagg that's required. He's called upon Steve Rogers because Steve goes to Asgard thinking, hey, Thor's called me for, a special mission. No, it's Volstagg
called
Voluminous.
And that's why he ended up being called to Asgard. And it's funny because there's Volstagg and you get the classic. He's a little chubby. I don't want to shame him, but, he's eating. He's having fun. He's being merry. He's laughing. Everything that's Volstagg. And he says, I need your help. And then Steve's, why would you need my help? Like, why wouldn't you just get Thor, everybody else? Like, whatever. And he's like, it's kind of
squad,
a personal thing, or one of the three. And so he's like, it's personal, but I'm going to have to dress you up a bit. And that's there to be cool. Yeah, right. Bernard Chang having fun. And I like where he has the bare knees, the sexy knees. Yes, that is America's knees right there.
Right.
So he's like, I look ridiculous and whatever, but he thinks he looks great. But you keep going. What were you going to say?
Well, and I like that Bernard Chang also gives Steve a hammer as well. So it's kind of a visual callback to Endgame which is like one of the best kind of moments in all that MCU, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm. And so there he is. There's Steve. There's Asgardian Steve. And luckily, this isn't an issue. Like sometimes you will get things where characters will go to Asgard. Say a Miles Morales. We don't yell hammer time here. We don't need that shit here. So you end up where
Odin's fade.
Exactly. So Volstagg says, this is a private matter. And you start to think, oh, this is gonna be like sus. This is gonna be something, but it's not. It's very wholesome.
Right.
And what it ends up being is that classic story. And I always love them. I like the idea of Lexor when you end up having Lex has a planet where they all worship him. Now, Lex in that story kind of goes there because he likes to be worshipped and treated like a king. But in this, Volstagg just happened to be at the Outer Realms and ended up going in this one planet. He met some people that seemed pretty good, and he helped them. He helps them out. He goes and sees them. Kind of fallen in love with a woman there, but says, I have a wife and kids, so I haven't acted out. It's weird that you have to spell that out now, but it's okay. He says, I didn't get sexual or anything like that. You can tell she wants to, though. Right. And he's like, the whole play is, but I do love her and them, and they treat me. And the whole play of this is, but Volstagg, you're a goofball. You're the guy.
It reminds me of Aragorn and Eowyn. You know what I mean? Because Aragorn had, Arwen. And so there was like nothing, but but Eowyn was so in love with Aragorn,
Yeah. And it's that bad fated deal that it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's like Lady Hawk. Movies.
Yeah.
Right? So you
that reminds me, I got to put that on my list.
You have to rewatch stuff.
Yeah, well, for physical media, I mean, I just bought Beat Street, and it's on Blu-ray, and I got Crush Groove.
Crush Groove, I was going to say, if you got Beat Street, you better get Crush Groove.
I got them
one
both,
of my
baby.
favorite movies of all time. I'm telling you, I'm not even joking.
I'm not
I
joking
saw
either,
that in the theater at least 6 times. It came to our theater, and now, granted, at our movie theater in Quakertown, where I live, they never got Return of the Jedi, but boy, they had Crush Groove.
They had Crush Groove.
And Crush Groove and Flash Gordon were 2 that I went multiple times and loved it.
Gordon's alive!
Yeah, exactly. And recently, I just watched Crush Groove again.
Oh, cool.
The thing is, it doesn't hold up, but it does. If you liked it, it does. Curtis Blow's awesome. Sheila E., all of them, and that.
Beastie Boys are in it for like a minute.
Yeah, for a minute. Yeah, LL's in there for 2 seconds. There's a lot of guys in there. Fat Boys.
And it's about for people that don't. If you know what Def Jam Records is, it's the fictionalized story of Russell Simmons, the proprietor of Def Jam, and Russell Simmons is also the brother of Daryl Simmons.
Yep, of Daryl Simmons from
Reverend
DMC.
Run of Run DMC.
And in that, I have talked to numerous occasions. I've talked to in messages and things with DMC.
Nice.
With the deal. So I love Run DMC. I was a huge fan. So in that, you end up in this. It's a classic story.
Yeah.
It's a classic story of Volstagg saying, hey, I got to this place. They didn't know of Volstagg the Clown, Volstagg the Bumbler, Volstagg the Oaf. They looked at me as a hero. And quite frankly, the whole thing of the bumbling and things like that, what he reveals to Steve is that's the role that needs to be played. Now, in that, in a weird pop culture reference in this, what I think of is Family Guy and that there needs to be a Meg. If there's no Meg, the family falls apart because they all hate her and they all go, and that was one of the episodes that showed that you need that. Volstagg realized that when you have the 3, like he wants to be the serious dark one. He wants to be the dashing handsome one, but those places were already filled. So when you even have a really good down the line of, we had the leader with the great heart, the dark and serious one, the dashing and handsome one. And he's like, and the one who makes others laugh. And he's like, yucking it up. So even by the end, you almost get a little sad tinge of the idea when the 3 come and there's Volstagg like, hey, everybody. And they're treating him like an oaf.
And it's downright there's something very similar to that. In Hindu mythology, in the Bhagavad Gita, you have the 5 Pandu brothers who are they're the heroes, but you have the eldest brother who is the leader and the virtuous one. Then you had the dashing, swarthy, handsome one. Then you had the tank, the big guy with the jolly sense of humor. You know what I mean? So these things are archetypical. Love it.
They are. And that's what I like about it. Also, you just explained a random World of Warcraft party. But you end up also, because when you get this, when you really think about it by the end, like Loki like the idea that Loki can't get past him, but he also plays that role as well. Like everybody has their role in anything, and they kind of end up falling into that. But Volstagg ends up saying, like, yeah, I kind of play my role to keep things together, keep things. You can't have two dashing, handsome ones. You can't have two dark, serious ones. So he's the bumbler, he's the jokester, and it does play that that's needed. He's also, I mean, the thing is, when the fight comes, he's a brute. I mean, he is huge.
He's
so he
the
does
tank.
some things.
He's the big guy.
the tank. So when they end up and he's talking about this other realm deal, that's the play. He wasn't looked at. They didn't know him. So all they saw was a guy who showed up and helped them. And he found out they're having some problems, but he also has like an ulterior motive where he wants Steve to come. We find out at the end what it really is. And he wants to end this war. They're in this endless war with, I thought, looked very much like the Brood at one point. But they end up where it's just the classic, you know, this race versus that race, alien. And they go to fight this, and they're going to stop this for once and for all. But in the meantime, Steve's, you know, being inquisitive of things and saying, well, what's going on here? Like, how did you, why do you guys speak like you're from a Shakespeare play? And that's like the funny little thing that's added in. And I love this. Some people said, oh, we don't need that. But Volstagg says, well, we needed somebody to teach us English, and they got Chaucer to teach them. But I got somebody else that ended up being Ben Franklin. So first off, you know that Volstagg likes to sit around nude like Ben Franklin did. And there's a little bit of a funny deal, too, where he gives Ben Franklin the idea of the kite. And again, it deals with the lightning and stuff, so it's funny. And you do have a really bit of a slapstick deal where he gets struck by lightning, Ben Franklin. I've discovered something astounding. He's like, forsooth. But you get that play of Chaucer taught them the deal. That's why Asgardian, you know, Norse, why would they speak with this crazy
like
deal?
that. Yeah.
And that's why. And it's just a little aside. I thought that was really cool. But in the meantime, this whole play of this fight on this outer realm and this woman that's in love with Volstagg, and Volstagg's in love with her, what they do is fake Volstagg's death. They end up finally ending this war, and then Steve comes out and says, oh my God, Volstagg died. He sacrificed himself.
Tell me how he
end.
Died. No, I'll tell you how he lived.
Exactly. I thought Steve was going to be like really bumbling it up. But he says, no, he ended up where there was a reactor going, and Volstagg grabbed a bunch of guys, blew up, and that was what finally did the battle in. And these aliens, they left. And he said, just, you know, remember him, like you said, remember how he lived. And then they leave. And Volstagg is sad. You know, he says, and Steve says, what are you going to do now? And he's like, I guess I have to get over her. But even says it's going to take some time. And same with her, but he hopes that she's able to now, because really, he's not giving her an opportunity to really have a good life where she just pines for him. He knows he can't do anything.
Right.
And he doesn't want to admit that or lie or whatever, but he does care for her.
Or lead her on and gave her closure. And you know what I mean? And it's just a nice one and done story. And one of the things I liked about it, or the last few pages, when Thor and the other Warriors 3 catch up, but they're all on horseback. And it's Thor's white steed walks right over to Volstagg. So there's Volstagg, you know, just rubbing the snout. And he's just a nice guy.
Yeah, he is. And
like 4 panels later, Volstagg's getting on his horse. So you actually kind of see the horse looking a little wide-eyed as he's taking like the
big damn horse though, too. I mean, horse. It's a huge horse, but it's like, whoa there, pal. You know what?
Yeah.
And what you end up doing is when you get the 3, they're like, hey, we're going to go to, you know, their things. What do you do when you're in Asgard? You drink and be merry. Hey, we're going to go do this. Are you going to come? And he's like, yeah. And he gets right back into that role, which is kind of a little sad. But I'm glad it wasn't like Steve steps up and says, hey, you jerks, you don't realize Volstagg this. I would love to think that Thor knows that this is what's going on, but this is the way it is. This is the way that it lines up, and they need Volstagg to be the guy who plays a role. So he's doing that. But it's just a nice thing that, and if you're going to pick a character for this, why not pick a guy who I would think is pretty universally loved for being a good guy, which is why I don't think anybody, even if you don't know Thor and don't, I don't think you're going to say that Volstagg's a dick. No. He's a nice guy. So it's nice to see that he has a heroic deal, which you would think he would. The 3 wouldn't have him hanging if he was just a jerk. You know what I mean?
Right. This is great because this puts Volstagg over. Steve puts Volstagg over in the kayfabe talk. You know what I mean? That's just exactly what happened. And Steve keeps his mouth shut, and he just plays along because he's a good guy. He's like that. He's solid.
Steve's a good guy. So,
and yeah.
So then he goes to Sif. He's got his bike back. And they're like, hey, thanks for helping. And this is the thing, too, to go with, as you said, with Sif's new role. Newer. It's been a little bit now.
Right.
But she sees everything, quote unquote. So she knows. She knows what Volstagg's up to. She knows that he's a good guy and knows that Steve helped and says, thank you for helping him, for helping both of them. And he's like, well, oh man, you know, and like, I see everything.
Yeah.
And says, hey, Thor says you can see everything. How is Sylvie, which is the woman? I mean, is she okay? And she looks, and they have a huge statue of Volstagg, which is really nice, and says she'll be fine.
Right.
And then Steve said, and I don't think she's lying. She's being nice about it and says she'll be fine. And Steve's like, okay, you might even think now that she'll keep an eye on him and, you know, make sure. I don't think we'll ever see anything from this again, but it's really cool for a one shot. I telling you, some people, Gabe, I just talked to Gabe for some DC stuff, and he's like, oh man, I said, me and Sully are talking about Volstagg Captain America. He says, oh, good luck with that one. And I said, really? I said, me and Sully liked it. And he's like, figures. I'm like, I don't know what that means there, Gabe. I'm going to get you. But with that, he then goes and you see him. And it's a cool page at the end where he's riding on the Rainbow Bridge with his bike going back to what would be.
Well, one thing I like about it that I just want to make a point, because it's definitely in continuity, because Sif is the, you know, is the she's the Rainbow Bridge maker.
But I say the tender. I don't even know what the official title is, but Hemdall's thing. She has taken over when he died. So
you know, like I'll remember this at 3 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. It's the worst. But, you call me up.
Exactly. Hey, dude. But she says that, like, oh, that is one of the improvements I've made, and the others you will discover over time. So what J. Michael Straczynski has done, he has given future writers
it'd be so funny.
A nice gadget. Exactly.
Like suddenly he's going to get killed by something and he either like zips back to Asgard or something comes out or it could be anything.
It flies.
It's fun.
You know, it's fun. Yeah.
And you know what's fun about it?
It doesn't have to gas up. You know,
and it may not. And we may never see anything. But if we do, me and you will be in the know.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Listening, unlike those jerks. Not Gabe, sus Gabe. He's giving crap to it. But I didn't even tell you that by the end, we're going to give it a score of 1 to 10. So that might put you on the spot a bit. I forgot to tell you that that's what we do at the end. But I'm going to give it a solid 8.
Cool.
Mainly because I liked it. I thought the art was great. It doesn't mean anything, but sometimes that's better.
Yes.
We have a lot of books right now that are supposed to mean something and don't. I mean, I'm talking pretty much the world under doom times.
Right.
They mean so this is just, you read it for some fun. It was a nice palate cleanser at the end of reading some pretty awful things this week, and it put a smile on my face. And I like the way it treated Volstagg, and then in turn, it makes Steve look like the good guy that we know he is anyway. And also, I will say, a lot of times with Cap recently, it's not been great. So it's nice to see Cap just do something. I think that a lot of writers are running scared and don't know what to do with Cap. This is just it feels like a classic. This could have come out years ago. It could have come out obviously this week. So I'm going to go 8. What would you give it?
I'm going to go ahead and give her a 9.
Okay. See, you're more positive than me.
Well,
I'll tell you, it is, but you are.
The proof of the pudding is on the plate. And I bought this issue. I picked this issue up. It's not on my pull list. And I spent the $4.99. I almost spent $10 on a 1 in 25 variant cover, you know, because I just wanted it. But I was like, no, I'm a big fan of, hey, if it's really that good, spend your money on it. You know, don't be afraid. This is how, you know, we're in this eternal quandary of like, oh my gosh, you're enabling the big two. But we have to, you know, support the titles that we love and deserve a shot, because this is how we're going to save comics. We have to spend money. We have to show up at the local comic book shop and spend our money there, you know, and that's how we on the street level will save comics. And this deserved it. And I'm going to lend this out. I would lend this out to anyone. This is an evergreen story. This is so enjoyable. Somebody's going to get a hold of you.
I want it, Sully. I'm in Greece.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
A friend of mine.
From there, you selfie. And speaking of which, Sully is from Boston, if you haven't been able to tell there. So now this is the thing, too, when you ended up, and you'll tweet me some things and we talk about the comics, and you did tweet me a picture of the actual print copy and said, you got it. That's right where I said me and Sully have to talk about it because you ended up liking it enough to buy it. And again, just to reiterate what you said, I agree. You're not saying to buy everything just blindly. You're supporting the things you like. And that is the way I think that everybody wins, not just bitching about it or whatnot. It's that you buy the things that are good, and that hopefully gets to the, the bean counters, as Tom Brevoort will say, and they'll realize, like, what is it that made this sell? And then if they would look into that, maybe it is something like this being a classic feel, not trying to do anything but tell a fun story and put a smile on your face. Now, the next issue, and I'll probably have you on each time these things come up now, but the next one is a Fin Fang Foom meets the Howling Commandos. And for some reason, I thought this was going to be Steve meeting a lot of people, that it would be Steve would be a central deal and he'd keep going, but it is going to be crazy stuff. And then you even have a Hulk, Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Galactus. It's crazy. And
the last one was fun, too. I mean, Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon. I enjoyed the heck out of that one, too.
A lot of people like that. And I just, again, didn't even think to have you on and go through it. So, yeah, hopefully we'll continue doing that. But we do have another book. It is a tie-in. It's a weird play because it doesn't really tie in much, but I think it's still okay. This is the thing, and I'll hit that so I know the timestamp, but it is the Red Hulk. A lot of people, when I heard, Red Hulk, we were going to do it on a regular show, and then we just kind of skipped it because we already were doing 3 books, but because it was a One World Under Doom title, and it didn't really tie in, we didn't do it. Now, in the meantime, a lot of people like Ben Percy. Some people don't. I kind of find him down the middle for me. I think sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not. But a lot of times to me, he has a very particular style. And to me, sometimes it gets a little plodding.
Like I'm enjoying Helverine.
Yeah, a lot of people are, yeah. But some of the other things he does, it just ends up boring me. The worst thing that Ben Percy will do is bore me. I'm not, but I still think he's decent enough. He knows how to write a comic. It just sometimes I think that his stories are whatnot.
This is proof of it right here. That was one of my was going to be one of my talking points, because it's like there are 2 ways to do an issue number 1, and that's because these are all written for the trade. This has got to be a 5-issue.
I think it's something like that. Yeah. And again, tie-in. So, but keep going. True.
But it's like, there's 2 ways to open these things. And it's the, written for the trade and just the inciting incident. Or you have crafted a nice little working story that entertains and fulfills and leads you with a nice cliffhanger right at the end, which leads into your second issue. And you can continue to wrap it up, in Act 3 at issue 5 or 6.
Oh, I'm telling you that by the end of this, I thought it was decent enough. It's not going to tie into that One World Under Doom. I don't think any of these tie-ins tie in. Doom's in it. That's about it.
True.
But in the meantime, it could do something with it, but I doubt it will. But it's a prison break, and pretty cool. And you get some characters that I didn't expect. That's pretty much, my deal. I'll give you the credits here. It is Think Tank, Red Hulk #1. Benjamin Percy writing, Jeff Shaw on art, and I do like Jeff Shaw's art. Brian Valencia on colors, VC's Corey Petit on letters. And you start off and you end up getting, the whole deal with Red Hulk and how he was being used to take down an airliner. It's actually pretty shocking that they're going to show you that a little kid dies. Like, these people are dead. And it's to be this whole play. We're going to have this airliner go down. They're going to blame North Korea. They're going to do this. It goes down to China.
Jim, I'll tell you that I've noticed it lately that Marvel has had a lot of civilian casualties in the background of their books lately. And I just noticed that. It stands out.
It's weird because you don't expect it. You expect at this point, you actually expect in my mind that at one point that the Red Hulk's going to be there to stop things, but no, he's causing it. And it's just this plane wreck, and it's supposed to cause trouble in Asia. You're going to get a bunch of countries against each other, but Doom kind of pops in and you have Ross there in a cell. And that's where we go with the main issue where he kind of plops him out. And most of this issue here is Thaddeus as Thaddeus. It's not Red Hulk until the very end now.
Right.
which is kind of a choice, but I thought it was pretty good. And the
I
idea
thought it
that
gave great build up to Thaddeus Ross as a general. He's a tactician and a strategist, and so he does everything without the rage of the Red Hulk, and that just there's your reveal at the end. There's but I'm wondering. I'm looking at the page right now, page 11, and it's Dr. Doom standing outside of Ross's cell, and they're having their but it doesn't look like Doom has the trappings of the Sorcerer Supreme right here.
Mm-mm. And well, the thing is, I think that this indeed is still a Doom bot, even though you would think that it would be Doom, but he might be talking through it. It is odd. Now, again, who knows when this is? There's the weird things about these books and the idea of it being a tie-in. Some of these things, even Joe Casey saying on Thinking Critical with Wes, saying that story, the X-Men deal that he did, that Wolverine Deadpool, what was it? I can't remember.
X-Men?
Weapon X-Men. That it wasn't really supposed to be involved in this event. They just threw it in. And I think there might be some of these things that were laying around. They had planned, they were doing. But you're right. And this probably at this point should have been Doom himself and not a Doom bot. Now, later, while you end up having some meals delivered, I thought right away, those have to be Doom bots. There's no way.
Yes,
he's
those
going
are
and
Doom
delivering.
bots.
And they are.
Correct.
They say that. So in this, you should have the trappings. I just wonder at one point, because of the art, it looks like he has no hand. Like, what happened to that hand? But it's kind of a perspective deal. But saying this whole play of him just like, you're in a cell now, you're going to do what I'm going to, make you do. You're just stuck here. And you find out there's a bunch of other people. And Thaddeus gets pissed off and starts talking a lot of trash. And Doom, he does end up through this, glass, whatever this force field deal in the cell. He does end up picking up Thaddeus and smashing him into the wall, which becomes a big thing as we go on. They even use that to escape. And that's why I thought Ben Percy does a decent job. And it fits his writing style of like plotting like that, in the idea that there a prison escape. Yeah, you can just have root and toot and hey, the one guy brings the food, you grab his arm, and then it's on. This is more of a let's plan this out, and it does a decent job for this little issue to go forward. And you don't escape yet.
Right?
Shit is on.
It sets you up. It's a lot of setup, because now we know who are the other prisoners, and could this be like a Marvel version of the Suicide Squad or something?
Maybe.
Or Secret Six,
They even say at one point, he says, the ones that know Morse code, we're going to find out that each of them are doing Morse code. Like,
right.
My
They're
name
talking
is
through the
Deathlock.
walls.
Yeah.
Like, Ross actually hears the ping, 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 ping.
And he realizes that's what it is, right?
I am Deathlock, and I am a prisoner. And then there's like somebody, a bad guy or two. And then there's at the end of it, it's like, it's Machine Man. And
Machine Man's the best.
I love Machine Man.
I like the Machine Man's just sitting on his seat, and he extends his hand to do the thing. He ain't getting up. He's there, but it's also Hugo Perez, head of the Hook Cartel. He's there with that crazy hook.
Yeah.
But you also have this Li Wan Tang, a professor of political science at Harvard, a prisoner, and also what looks like the Simon Riker of the U.S. Army. So there's a wide range of villains, things that, whatever. But the idea of them all knowing, those are the ones that know Morse code. There might be people who are in there that don't even know it. He says there might be more. And
the story that unites all these people together is that Doom is giving them like holodeck projections in their minds, where they have to be at their utmost to solve situations or to destruct situations, to disrupt places. It's think tank. It's all in the title. So it's like,
and it's good. And that's the idea of what he's doing. He's using them in all, you wouldn't think of a Red Hulk, Deathlock, Machine Man, like all these different things going on. And you do even get a little bit of an idea of Red Hulk and what that means. And Thaddeus, he gives the bit. But again, this think tank deal, but they want to get the hell out of there. Also, in the one cell next to, I believe it would be Machine Man, is the guy laying on a bed from the one Metallica video. He's just saying, kill me. That's what he wants. So, like all this going on, but it's a smart way to start it, where they're doing the Morse code. They can communicate with each other, and they're sick of what's happening. Machine Man and Death, like they're all being used in these things to try to figure out different things. Hey, here's where you go against all the Iron Man and what happens in this think tank kind of play. But they went out, and you do see that going forward. And what they end up doing is Doom supposedly he's delivering the food, but they kind of think it might be a Doom, but it is. I mean, you would guess that he says it seems beyond Doom to do this. But in the meantime, why they figure it out is because they're SOS Morse code deal of, I just got my food, and they're all getting food at the same time. So it can't, and it's Doom each time. So that really puts the nail on the deal. These are Doom bots. Each one is too quick to deliver this food or whatever, but that also sets the idea of the timing that they need. And hey, message me when you get your dinner. Here's my dinner. Okay, we have a 3-minute thing. They start to play that out of how this is going to go. But in the meantime, the way to escape, Machine Man is kind of the integral part of the beginning. He has cables within him steel. We see, the whole play. Right. But he can't get to them. But he can if he acts like an asshole to Doom.
Right, and Doom's going to toss him around.
We saw Thaddeus get tossed around. So legitimately, he tries to get abused by Doom until he breaks apart so he can use the cable. It's really smart. I thought that this is like an issue that I think that Ben Prissy puts things together that really work out. But they only have a little bit of time. And at one point, they realize we're going to be found out. They're not going to get out of here very easily. It's not like, we're going to climb up cable and get out of there. They're going to find out, but we have to figure out what to do and get things in motion, because it does end up, I like the helping hand that Machine Man, pushes down the Thaddeus. It's just a cable he grabs on, and they go into these, shafts into the deal. Yeah, they do die-harded. Yeah, and it's good. And they're going to go, and it's going to be a full-out break for all. Now, in that, too, they also play the idea that when the Doombot goes and discovers, Thaddeus is gone, whatever, they're not going to reclose the cells, because why would you? Nobody's there. And there's some fun little play of how they're doing this to then just completely destroy this one Doombot. They end up just, trapping it because they want the inhibitors off. They have power inhibitors on there, especially Thaddeus. They beat the crap out of the Doombot and realize, it is a Doombot. They get the key, take out the deal. And the last page with those Doombots all flying through the hall to get to them is awesome. And then it says, like, hey, what are we going to do, Ross? Oh, Ross, don't worry about him. It's time for the Red Hulk, because now he can be Red Hulk. And again, in an issue where you start with the kind of think tank Red Hulk, but then by the end get to actually Red Hulk on the, the cliffhanger deal. Sometimes I would think, oh, man, we only got that with Red Hulk, but it really is pretty cool. I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
This surprised
doesn't really
me.
tie in much to the One World Under Doom, right? But you can make it work. This actually I can make work better than Doom Academy.
Right.
Where he's like, welcome to, I'm telling you, I keep saying the phrase at the beginning of that where you're like, man, Doom is kick-ass. He's taking over the world. And he says, you're all mine for a semester.
Oh,
let's go, kids. I'm like, oh, God.
I made a review of Doom Academy on my show last Sunday, and you would have been proud of me. Like, oh, wow, he does swear a blue streak sometimes. I was like, look at this.
I'm going to have to watch it then. I'm going to have to watch it.
I'll get to the timestamp.
I'll watch the whole thing. They completely just throw... And they throw anything with Strange Academy that's continued has really not been good, and it really has tainted it.
I'm going through every page, and they're talking, and they're talking.
Oh my God, we talked about it on the podcast. Legitimately, I fell asleep reading it, and it's been a long time since that has happened. And that book felt like it took a year to get through.
Oh my gosh! Well, there you go. If you're having trouble sleeping again, you got Strange Academy.
It's the Ambien of books. I think is what it is. It's
no
great.
groggy side effects.
Oh my goodness! What would you give this issue?
I would give this a 7.5 because
I'd give it a 7.5. I liked it. Yeah,
I liked it. Yeah, it was fun. It was. It kept my interest. It had good story beats. And like I said there are two ways you can approach these issue ones because they're always written for the trade. So it either starts off with this inciting incident and a lot of it's act one stuff, but it just reeks of being act one. But then you have a comic book, a floppy, you know what I mean? That's something that can be read out of sequence and you can still really get into it and still really enjoy it. And this kind of issue one is my favorite kind of issue one.
Yeah, I liked it. And if you don't know anything about Red Hulk, that doesn't matter. You'll find out enough
expository
and you go
language,
into
man.
it. Yeah, you get it. So I did like it. I'll give it a 7.5 as well.
Yeah.
And just to let everybody know, if you're not aware, Sully loves anything that has pets in it. That's the warning. Anything, if you have Marvel Mutts, if you have Jeff the Land Shark, he is in. He is in fully. So hopefully some things like that will keep coming out. But before we go, let everybody know of your channel and what you do there, because it's really cool and unique.
Well, thank you. I am Eric O'Sullivan, otherwise known as Reverend Sully, ordained on the internet, coming at you from Boston, Massachusetts, the hub of the multiverse. I'm a professional chef, so I've been working in the biz for over 30 years. I make delicious, nutritious, and beautiful food, and I have home cooking hacks to share with you. I got a playlist for that, so come on by my station, my YouTube channel. It's my name, Eric O'Sullivan. Look me up.
And I will put the link in the show notes as well, so people can get that. And again, it's a combination of cooking and comics.
Right, cooking and comics.
Crazy.
And also a little bit of spirituality. Reverend Sully. It's I'm an independent spiritualist, and I believe in the power of gratitude. Seriously, a gratitude list changed my life. It could change yours. If you need to hear something like that, something uplifting, something positive, and something constructive, you tune in the mornings, usually weekdays. I share my gratitude list with you, and it really helps.
And I have an idea of a show that I talked to Sully about that I'd like to do, because I need to be a little more positive myself.
I'm grateful for comic books, and especially a fun comic book. And I'm grateful for my hobby, and I'm grateful for my local comic book shop that I help keep open with patronage. I also get my short boxes there. See, I'm getting old. I transferred all of my long boxes to short boxes, and I gave everything new bags and boards, and I bought all of my supplies at my LCS, my local comic book shop.
Yeah, so that's cool.
They need the business.
Support.
Yeah,
I'd say I'm spiritual. I'm afraid of ghosts. Is what I'm like. There you go.
Waka.
Yeah, check out Sully's channel specifically, and I will have Sully on a bunch of times, as much as he'll have me have him on, and we'll talk about comics. And like I said, I have an idea of kind of a positive show that I've been thinking about for a while, of basically maybe a show on just YouTube, but the idea of having me, you, Gray, whoever it would be, but whenever anybody comes on, we just have to find something, even if it takes, a long time, find something
even if you look
that week that's positive in comics and kind of talk about that. There's always
one good thing. I know that because I got a poll list, and I usually get at least 3 or 4 books in my poll list every week, sometimes 2 on those light weeks. Like this week I had 8 in my poll list, but they're all good. Well, actually 7 in my poll list, and I got one off the shelf, which was Captain America in Volstagg.
Yeah,
it was that good. I bought it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
After reading it for free, you know what I mean? Seriously.
Yeah, I end up, because I do send you the review copies, because I do legit use your advice to see what I'm going to read, and I actually think it's kind of a review type deal, but also like going through your takes on the book, sometimes a lot different than mine, but that's fine.
And I will say this too, Jim is quite well documented on my opinion of Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men, but I enjoyed this past issue 12. I thought it was really good. You
have to read it. You have to listen to our review. We liked it, but we were confused at things and wonder where you're going to get some progression. But it's the best that me and you, I'm like, I think it's good. You're like,
I think it's good.
You're like, I think it's good. I'm like, But no, it was good. But
I still have a problem with it. There are 0 good men in this. It's all chicks. And it's
there's one Shadow King. That guy is sus as hell.
Dude, but it's creepy looking.
Yeah,
it's so well drawn.
It's creepy,
the colors, the panel progressions, man.
The worst, though, Shadow King's bad. Mother worse. That Mother is way over the top.
It's the Norman Bates thing, man.
Oh, yeah. It is creepy as hell.
And Jim knows how much I hate this book. And here I am, you know what I mean, saying that right now on tape. You got me. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, so eventually things can come around. We'll see how it goes. But thanks for joining me, Sully. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, everybody will be hearing more and more from Sully. And please check out his channel. He deserves all of the love. And with that, that is it. So we will talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.